Welcome to the Post Float Podcast.
Hey, it worked.
Hey. Are we live?
Yes, sir.
Or whatever you would call that. Sweet. We're back. Welcome.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Welcome back from the void, Jesse Butterfield.
Oh, I could have stayed in there all day.
It was a nice one today, man. That cold temperature outside.
Nice warm float tank.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, you just don't want to get out. There's no point. There's nothing better to do.
Oh, man. Yeah, today could have been a 2-hour one easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing hour-long floats.
Which is weird, right? Because, yeah, we like to partake in the 90s and the 2 hours. I was even thinking about that this morning. I was like, should I ask Jesse, should we do a longer float?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Please
next
do.
week or something. We'll do that. Yeah, it's just we're not really hour guys, which is weird because I started out as an hour guy. I don't know. I go back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, I started as an hour and then graduated to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And then 90 minutes seemed like 5 minutes. So I was like, let's do 2 hours. And then I was doing 2 hours for a while. And then when we were coming in early in the morning a couple years ago, I just did that open-ended float where I just didn't set a timer, and I did 4.5 hours, and I was just, woo, that's my record.
Yeah.
What's your longest one?
That would have been it. I think I was the last person to come out that day, though. So,
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, I can't
Because you
remember.
guys were sitting out here in the Post Float Lounge, and I came out, and I was like, oh, you guys are already out?
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
I didn't know what to do.
That's funny.
Because it was you and Jeremy, right?
Yeah.
Jeremy Warner? Yeah.
Shout out Jeremy Warner.
Yes.
Skate
What-
Pod Float
I
Tanks.
think it was like 3.5 hours. Was it 4.5 hours?
It was 4.5, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. So that'd be my longest one.
Yeah, because we got here at like 3:30,
Yeah.
and we got out at 9, I thought.
Well, that'd be I don't know.
No,
I
because
don't
we got
remember.
at 8:30.
Okay.
Shit, I can't remember, man.
Hey, man,
I
we
just remember-
floated for a long time. It was great.
Pretty sure it was 4.5 hours. But...
Yeah, it's so cool, though. So this is the coolest routine ever. I love that we do this because I've always tried to float at least once a week. Maybe I honestly would prefer probably twice a week for me.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
but now that we're doing it almost the exact same time every single day, it's really cool because I've never done it that way. This is the first time with this podcast that I've really done it almost every same day of the week, the same time, same floaty place, same floaty time. That's when we go. And I found that to be interesting. So this is number 8 or 9 that we've done? But we had 1 week there. We had a bye week, basically.
Yeah.
Remember? So basically 8 weeks in a row, which is really cool. Because last night, I don't know. I'm already kind of starting to, I know I'm going to just go and float the next day. I'm already, cool, man. Going to float. It's not like I know I'm going to float tomorrow. I'll figure out when I'm going to fit it in, etc. It's set. It's set in stone, man. We're coming. And I think that's super important for that routine aspect. But anyway, I've never done that. I've never had that strict of a routine. I usually try to do it about the same day or Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever it was. And
At
maybe
least once a week.
Yeah, at least once a week. And now I like this way better. I do. It's different. But the reason I bring it up is that 60-minute spot, it becomes very routine. Everything else, like when you first start going to the gym or anything else, you kind of getting into your routine. Things are more difficult. And then you're ready to ramp it up. And I'm like, let's ramp it up, man. Like, I want to hit that 60 minutes. Like, okay, I'm good to go. And then I want that next 30 minutes to be like, you got more shit to work on. Like, you're going to go. This is going to get deep. This is going to get weird.
Oh, man.
Or
yeah.
even a 2 hour where it's like, whoo, I'm kind of ready to get out, but I can't because the whole objective is to go and talk about this experience.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah. Those 2-hour floats, man. It's great. It's that quitter mind always kind of comes into the picture when
Right.
when you're in there for longer than what's expected
Yep,
because you're
100%.
you're conditioned to an hour and your brain just like I call it the light switch moment because it's like it's pitch black in there but it's like a light switch turns on in my head and it's just like
Been
you're
an hour.
done.
Yep.
It's time to get out. And I'm like no buddy.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because I have that light switch moment now, So we get in there approximately, like 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, something like that, most mornings. And then I know when an hour's up now. I have that light switch like, boing.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is the perfect time to, like, that quitter's mindset. Like you said, like, okay, I'm done. Cool. Work's over. Let's go. And you're like, no, work's not over. You're there, but you still have 50% further to go than that you just want.
Right.
Yeah. So that's fun because it kind of gives you the most of the best where you're relaxing, everything's very laid back, but you also have to put in some effort, and there's a little bit of suffrage in that because you really are kind of like, okay, well, my body just activated, maybe non-consciously, but it activated in the sense it's like, hey, time to go do this other thing, and you're telling it no. Consciously, you're saying no.
Yeah.
And so it's a choice that you have to make in that moment. Like when you're running and you're going out to do 5 miles and you're on 4 miles, and you're like, yeah, man, 4 miles is pretty good. But no, you got another mile to go.
Yep.
You just got to keep going. And it's awesome because once you finish that last mile, it's like that last mile was better than the previous 4.
Yep.
So the last 30 minutes of that float, if we do a 90, that's what I'm thinking. Get some of those really deep, dark, hero's journey moments in those last 30 minutes.
Yeah, and it's an accomplishment feeling,
Right?
And
yeah, that's I guess what I'm getting at.
It feels good, like because you're just like you wanted to get out, and then you didn't, and then you kind of go back through the whole relaxing thing again, and it's like, where'd that come from?
Yep.
Like I thought I was done.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's like that second win, but it's not. You're not doing anything aerobic, but it is. And then all of a sudden you're like, I never want to get out again. Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that little ebb and flow.
Ebb and flow.
It just opens up different avenues, I think is what it does. And it gives you the opportunity to explore those where 60 minutes really, when you float a lot like we do, it's like I was saying with anything else, it's a quick jaunt. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's stuff that you're pretty skilled at. You're pretty aware of what you can and can't work out at that time. You've also floated a lot, so you don't have a lot of unprocessed stuff. Right. So what you are processing and what maybe happened yesterday real quick, it's just kind of cleanup. It's real great cleanup. You're in a great place. That's awesome. I'm definitely not opposed to that. That means you're in a good spot in your life. You're going up there, you're doing your cleanup, and that's what we do every week. And it's easy. It's awesome. It's great. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah, that's that Naval email metaphor, right?
Best analogy ever. I couldn't agree with him more. And he's simplified it in a way that I obviously, if you've listened to any of these podcasts, I'm not good at. But I couldn't agree more. So we did a poll the other day, just out of curiosity. Like, do most people take in an attention for focus and mindfulness into a float, which I thought was going to be the leader, and or do you go into a float because Facebook only gives you 2 options? Do you go into a float with just free flow thought? Whatever happens, happens. And it was by far the majority of people just go in there and just free flow it. Just let it go. Whatever happens, kind of happens. And I found that interesting because so many people tell you all the time how they meditate and this is that and meditation's this. And maybe that just becomes a cool thing to talk about. And so maybe I got confused thinking like, no, most people are going in there to like meditate, I guess.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that meditation is like just focusing on the breath, and that's just one way of doing it. It's funny because I did that.
That's the description I'm talking about. Obviously, there's more to meditation, right?
Yeah.
And you can elaborate on that for sure. But when I think about meditation too, from other people talking to me, I think that's what they're probably talking about. It's just the really intent focus, and coming back to the breath, concentration, focus. But
there's a whole other side of meditation, which is just free flowing, just letting it go. And so, I'm day 33, Sam Harris meditation app. And it was so funny because we were talking about this kind of before the podcast a little bit. And this was in my meditation yesterday. He actually talked about, it's like, you may have sorry, Sam, if I'm pissing you off with my imitation of you, but I really love it.
Okay, Jesse Butterfield.
He's like, so you may have noticed that we bounce around from either focusing on the breath or just opening your mind wide, and it's because it's important.
Sounds like a Sesame Street character.
Yeah, kind of. It's a terrible Sam Harris. He does it. I mean, the guy is great.
He does a great impression of himself.
Get the Sam Harris meditation app. It's great. He's awesome.
Waking up.
Waking up is what it's called, correct? But yeah, he talks about how it's important to do both, like to have the focused, like where you're focusing on your breath. You can focus on anything, but the breath is a really easy one.
It's a go-to. to.
It's gonna happen.
Autonomic.
It's guaranteed. So yeah, you can focus, and that helps, like, sharpen your mind. But then the other one is just like, listening to sounds that come in the room, because your mind can't control that. And so just allowing your mind to open up as wide as possible, and then just noticing whatever comes into your consciousness. It's great, man. But yeah, it's like, it's kind of funny that, like, we kind of expected, just working here at the float shop, that most people were coming here to work on something.
Right.
But no, yeah, most people are coming here to go, wee.
Yeah. Yeah. Whee! Hey, guys. I love that. The crazy thing is, too, so many people come in here as well, and they don't want the wee moment. Yeah. I've noticed a lot of people are kind of intimidated. I'm not going to say specifically to the float tank, but just of instances where they might have to be with their own thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll come in here and they'll get done with their first float, which, by the way, floating is in and of itself a practice. It's something that I think we should express more often. Too many times people think there's magic pills in this world, whatever that might be, and you're going to do this thing and that's it. No, it is literally a practice. It's a routine. It's a lifestyle choice. And we'll go deeper into that, because I think Jesse and I both were talking about how we haven't even talked about what our float practice is, why we love floating so much. So we're going to get into that today. But just to stay on topic, so many people come in here and they'll get out of their first float and they're like, hey, man, I just, didn't work for me. I'm like, what didn't work for you? I'm like, well, I couldn't shut my mind off. Well, that's a good thing. Right. You'd cease to be. But they'll literally be like, you know what? I don't know if, or people who have never floated will be intimidated by floating, because they're like, hey, I'm a type A personality, or I have this rat's nest up here that's always going to go thinking. So why would I subject myself to an environment that's just going to exacerbate that side of me? And this is why I like Naval's kind of idea of the email, because the way I've always seen it, and the email is just a perfect way to describe it, is we all have our Gmail accounts, our Hotmail accounts, et cetera, or our 15 of them, whatever it might be. We all have them, and we all know what it's like when we start piling up unread emails. We also know what it's like when it's your primary work email or just your primary personal email, and you're like, I'm going to stay on top of this. Not going to let this happen. I'm not going to let it get past 40 unread emails. It doesn't happen. And that's because life doesn't stop. So unlike just your computer's email inbox where somebody's sending you this stuff, your internal inbox is every life experience you ever have. So it's consistently bringing in emails. It's not just when somebody's, looking for a handout or wanting to say hi or send you a, weird GIF. But you always have these experiences coming into your life, and we literally just don't have the time to process all those, to absorb all those. So the way Naval talks about it with your internal email inbox is we all have this internal email box that has just a ton of unread emails, just like your regular email. And you got to go through and clear that thing out every once in a while. But when you've lived for 20, 30, 40, 50, however old you are, years, that's a lot of life experience that is built up. And so it literally makes no sense that you could then take that much life experience and take exactly that much amount of time to go through that email inbox while you're also gaining new life experiences. So you can never get that thing to zero. But the way I see it is it's just simply being with your thoughts. That's the side of meditation that might be one of my favorites, because I think I've done so much of it. I love both. I love focused. I love non-focused. But you haven't went through the time that it takes to go through and process all these life experiences. I mean, some you have, some you've absorbed, some were profound. Ding, had a kid, whatever. You've probably thought about that a lot. Lost a loved one. But there's a lot that just kind of bypasses the filter real quick and is still there. But when you stop and you spend an hour with yourself in a float tank, or even just an hour yourself in general, i.e. I would prefer you go in a float tank because it's the best spot to be with just your thoughts. You can start going through the repository that's there, that's built up over time, and start going through those emails. And some of them, you're just going to look at like, whatever, that was, whatever, that's that. And a lot of junk email, spam email, whatever it is, man, it's there. But you might come across some things that you realize that you might need to pontificate on a little bit, or, think about just internally, or whatever it might be. There's something there that you're like, I should look further into that. And maybe even you check mark that email, you start as important, and you can come back to it later, because this isn't a magic pill. This is a routine. This is something you need to start doing all the time. And so you might have an email that just hits you. That's the perfect time to review that email. Now you have time to center yourself and view this and look at it and process it and absorb it and or move on from it, whatever it might be. But when you are, let's say I'm 38, so I have a lot of years of experience there, that if I've never done this before, I've got a large repository of emails to go through. Yeah, a lot of it's spams, a lot of it's junk, but a lot of it's valuable. A lot of it's important. A lot of it, maybe I just haven't taken time to think of, and I need to.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, you definitely have some emails in your internal email inbox that you need to reply to.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it. And so that's what you do. And what I've noticed is I've done this for a really long time. But before you know it, you're at that magic inbox 0 number. Just like the day you do that to your Gmail and you sit down, it feels good.
Yeah, it does.
You feel organized. Like you're like, yeah, that little anxiety is gone. What new anxiety can I replace it with? But for a moment, you have that little, I don't know. Yeah, the moment of like, bring it on. I'm ready. Let's go. You get that same with your internal inbox. At least I do. And what happens is it allows you to be at peace. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like there's just an overall sense of peace. And to me, that's why I meditate, whether I'm focused meditating or whether I'm open-ended meditating. It's literally just to be at peace.
Yeah.
That's why I do it. 100%. I'm not going in there to have these epiphanies. I'm not going in there like with an intention to go super deep and understand everything. Like whatever happens. But I just want to be at peace.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it is. And once you can get your internal inbox to 0, you literally can be at peace with so much that you haven't processed, and or even at peace with things that you've started and you got to get back to and still send that reply email. You're ready, man. You're at peace with the fact that you progressed a little bit. You did some progress, you made some steps forward, and you're ready for the next step, whatever that might be. And also it allows you to then be desirable for what is worthy of desiring for. It helps you like organize, right? Like, so, this is number 1, this is number 5. This is number 6 just doesn't slip in there well enough for me to be able to take away peace from, so that just goes away and it's gone. Anyway.
That's good. That's a great analogy, man. Great breakdown of Naval Ravikant's email analogy. Shout out Naval.
Yes, he's a stud.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it, and I think that's what you were talking about earlier. Because when you said like every week we come in and we just kind of do a little cleanup. Mm-hmm. We just got a little bit of clean because we've been doing this for floating for years now.
Yeah, it's cleanup for us.
Lost and Float's been open for over 2 years, and so we've been floating almost every week since we've been open. Anyway. No matter what, you're always gonna have work to do in there. Like, but it's nice to.
Well, life doesn't stop.
Right. Like
every week, you're gonna fill up that internal, inbox with more shit.
Oh yeah.
There's gonna be more life experiences, and some of them might need viewed a little bit further that you didn't have time to process and or absorb.
For sure. And not all of them are bad. Not all of them are good. I mean, it's just
life.
Life, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. It's
no big deal.
For sure. Yeah. And nothing is worth giving up that peace. Like being at peace. If you aren't like just good, like. Mm-hmm. This is the best time to be alive right now.
Yeah. Arguably the absolute best time to be alive.
The 1500s in Italy was arguably the worst. That was like more murders per capita. I think that's correct. I don't know. Look, fact check that. But yeah, I mean, it's great, man. It is a great time to be alive, and people should be aware of that. Like, yeah, the media can sensationalize what bleeds leads.
For sure.
But you don't gotta click on the bait, man. Like,
that's true.
You can.
That is true. I like how you brought that up too, because it's very important to learn how to be kind of ascetic, like remove yourself. Go live in abstinence a little bit from these just click cycles, especially the news. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
And so I like to check the news too. I like to stay informed and be a proactive citizen, everything like that. But you're lying to yourself if you just live it on there. It's become a religion. It's become everything else. And it really doesn't. There's almost an immediate diminishing return if you spend more than 5 minutes. Just peruse it really fast. Maybe make sure that there's nothing that is out there that you're not aware of that might put your family in danger. Whatever. There's some crazy hurricane weather coming to Nebraska. Why? I don't know. It just happened. You didn't know about it. You didn't have your rations. But outside of that, you really got to remove yourself. Abstinence, I think, is one of the only ways to achieve peace. And if you're always plugged in and you're always dialed in, you're always seeking more. That's the opposite of
You
that.
get that hammer looking for a nail mentality.
Oh yeah, and
before you know.
and that can just segue into a million different avenues, as we know, as we see every day. But the one thing that's always true and always pure is just that art of doing nothing, and that is that constant practice. Like Jesse and I are talking about, we come in here every week, and it's just clean up at this point.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
literally just clean up.
Oh man, it really is important though. Like, cause I noticed when like that bye week that we had, I was feeling it. I was like,
I feel it too.
"Oh, are we gonna do this thing, or we're not doing this thing?"
Well, the crazy thing is due to the fact that you have this experience, now you can create contrast with that experience through other experiences. So that's the magic pill thing. That doesn't work. If you just go try something once, you don't ingest, get all this, everything into it. There's no juxtaposition like, okay, I did that. Now let me see what it's like without that. You don't have that. You don't have that, man. You got to put in the time and the work and everything else. And then you can look back and see the juxtaposition between the two scenarios. Not to bring up family things, but I remember my mom always thought she was really healthy. And I was always kind of harping on her because, I don't know, I kind of get health geeky in that weird way. But I was like, Mom, what are you doing? You're drinking juice every morning. Like, that's the worst. She's like, it's juice. It's good for you. I'm like, no, it's terrible for you. And I just like, you exercise, Mom.
Why is it terrible for you?
Just pure sugar, man.
Yeah.
A big glass of orange juice. It's not what the doctor ordered me. Yeah, you have no fiber or anything in there. It's literally just juice.
Sugar water.
Sugar. Yeah, you might as well drink a soda. So anyway, I was just kind of, you worry about your parents. So I was like, you exercise. She's like, I'm so healthy, Levi. You have colds all the time. Blah, blah. I'm like, oh man, I wish my mom would kind of take care of herself a little bit more. Just, it's easy to get sedentary. It's easy to get complacent. And then I remember her, she had, her liver was failing. Oof. And all of a sudden, long story short, she got a new liver and everything else. And then she had this contrast. What it felt like to be healthy and what she felt like before that. And she's like, oh yeah. I see what you mean. I felt like crap and didn't even know it. Didn't even realize how unhealthy she was.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like, you can't just come float once or twice or go to the gym a couple times. It's just a constant ebb and flow, and we're always looking for something, I guess. But putting in the time to do that, then you can have your juxtaposition. You can look at it pragmatically and without any ideology behind it or anything else, just really pragmatic, self-aware, rational thought. This is this. Let's be rational and move forward with this.
Yeah. Like when you make it like a practice and a routine, you get that. This is what healthy feels like.
Right. Or like our bye week the other day, I felt it too. I didn't like it when I was sick and we didn't do the podcast, and I was moving my house, and I did not like missing that week, and I felt it. It's crazy for me. I feel it immediately after the float. Like right now, my back doesn't hurt at all. Oh yeah. Like nothing. Like I just feel so good and so relaxed. But the weird thing with me is the biggest is tomorrow. When I wake up the next day after a float, that's like there's this weird show on Netflix right now, Paul Rudd, called Living With Myself or something. I saw first 2 episodes where he gets cloned.
Okay.
Does that sound right? So anyway, but once he's cloned, he's the best version of himself from his basic DNA, level. No epigenetics have taken place over life. All these bad decisions. Like, this is out of the box who
Fresh
you could
batch
be.
Of
right.
DNA.
And he comes out and he's like sniffing the air and he's like, oh God. Like, that's what I feel like Tuesday morning. It's like I've cloned myself and I get this reboot is the best way to describe it. And then I spend the next 7 days kind of, damaging my DNA or filling up my desktop of life, and my email inbox, so just to stick with that analogy, it just starts filling up. Then I come in and I take it back to zero.
Yeah, I hear that one a lot. The reset button. The
reset.
float tank is the reset button on life.
Yes.
And if you come here once a week.
If you don't believe me, trust me, that's what it is. It's a reboot. It's like that stupid Staples commercial. Like push that thing.
I hate that.
You literally, it's kind of like that. Like you get this clone version of yourself and you leave the old shitty version of yourself. Like when you're not looking, we go bury that person out back in the field back here.
Is that how that show
yeah,
works?
Something like that. Like what happened was they Never mind. I'm gonna give too many spoiler words. I won't do it. But obviously he's living with himself, so apparently there ends up being two. So it's pretty self-evident that one of them doesn't go away. And
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I love Paul Rudd. He's
just
hilarious.
So that's it. So yeah, Tuesday mornings is usually when it fully hits me. It's great though, because Monday I sleep like a baby. Like people always talk about that too, like how they can't sleep, those ruminating thoughts, everything else. Guess what? I won't have that problem. Right? I go right to bed.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, Josh Schuler, shout out Josh Schuler.
Hey,
He's a
who?
good dude. He has a hard time sleeping a lot. Like I've known him for a long time, and he's just always he's just been insomnia pretty much. And every time he comes up to visit the float, he's just like, dude, I slept like a rock.
What did we do last night? I shut my eyes and I woke up. Here you are.
It's great. Yeah, dude. And so it's like, I mean, there's just so many good things. It's like, I don't know. It sounds like a magic pill, but it's not.
It's pretty fucking magic just to take care of yourself. So it has almost become a magic pill because everything we do in opposition to that, not like consciously, but non-consciously, we do so many things that, like, sorry, terrible word, ladies and gentlemen. We will edit that out. But we do so many things that are nonsensical when it comes to what we think's going to bring us that little bit of happiness that we're looking for, when I already kind of declared what I think that should be is peace. Don't go on the pursuit of happiness. Just be at peace.
Yeah.
But being at peace takes work. It takes going through those life experiences. It takes, processing. It takes things like that. It takes uncomfortability. Everything does. There's nothing worth anything that didn't take some hard work. Or some suffrage.
And you can't accept those bad things that happen to you and let them go if you don't look at them. If you don't take the time.
They're still there.
I mean, yeah, they're still there.
That's what I mean.
Always there. But I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm trying to agree with you, sorry.
But yeah, they're, and even afterwards they'll still be there.
Yeah.
But you've let them go.
Right.
I mean, it's like,
well, it's a practice. Also, from the magic pills perspective, it's not like you go into the tank, think about this horrible thing one time, and you're at peace with it.
right.
And not saying that can't happen. That'd be great. But it's the best environment to do that.
Yeah.
Anybody could go right now, like shut off this podcast, go sit in a dark room in your house, and just be with your own thoughts. 100%. Please do that. Do that more often. Don't lay there and then be like, oh, I'm bored. Like, I'll pull up my phone. Like, what I love about the float tank is it's the environment that's surrounding it. It is the best environment I personally know of. And the transformations that I have personally heard from the people that have 4 to 6 weeks into a routine floating. You just can't deny that.
Dude, I've cried with some of our clients, man, just because it's like I see the transformation that they of them, man, this one person comes in and they're just all business, just get me in, get me out. Blah, blah, blah. And 2 months later, they're like, hey, Jesse, how's it going? Good to see you. And I'm just
I love that.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, there's more to life.
For sure.
And what you can't see, it's almost like, obviously we can only see the par spectrum of light. We're human beings. We can only hear certain frequencies. Mm-hmm. But just to use that analogy and kind of muddle it, it's almost like if you take the time to become at peace with more things and just do less better, have better problems, realize that anxiety is just literally kind of like what Ledoux was talking about, was like, it's our ability to choose. So that is anxiety. Like if you want to be able to choose, you better accept having anxiety, because that's what it is. Mm-hmm. Putting in it, you have this imagination of yourself and some weird time travel capability where you're in the future and you're doing this thing, and you want to make the right choice, so you have some anxiety about that. Once you make that choice and that anxiety is gone, you have to replace it. And so it's really cool when you go in a tank and you become at all peace with other crap and use that stuff for the stuff that matters. It's almost like you can see more light. You can hear more frequencies. You're more susceptible to, your blinders are removed a little bit, I guess I should say. You're more precise in your aim. But when it's muddled with all this noise and all this shit,
oh man,
it's dirty. It's clogged filter, man. That's kind of what it's like. You got to pull that filter every once. You got to spray it out, clean it up, put it back. It's gonna work a little better, and it's gonna fill up again with junk.
Yeah, we're talking about this is the best time to be alive, but at the same time, I have so many friends that are just have high anxiety, anxiety, and it's like that's part of our human condition. Like,
Oh, for sure.
Like we need to be able to accept that and work with that, work through that anxiety, and accept that that's a part of life. Like, we are going to be anxious.
If you want to be a conscious being who has the capability of making choices, you have to accept anxiety. Unfortunately, some people have more anxiety than other people, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, that might just be your program.
Yeah, that's your
The crazy thing is, man, and I don't have
hardware, right?
Yeah, your hardware. If you are a really anxious person, unfortunately, you're probably always going to be a little anxious from all the literature I read, which, I don't take anything I say with any, I'm a dummy.
Take everything we say with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
But
big 1,000 pounds of it. So, but what I've noticed is, so anxiety and everything from the amygdala is, it's non-conscious. It's there. It's autonomic. It sees a threat and everything else, and you respond physiologically, right? Like, you get the palpitations, your hands are sweaty, you're nervous. That's normal. That's just programmed into you. That's good shit, man.
Yeah, you
But
want
what they're
that.
showing now is that might not be where fear is developed. That is just your response to a threat,
Right.
Biologically, right?
Right.
But fear can be chosen consciously, right? Because they did that test with the fMRIs.
Yeah.
Where I don't remember where they did the test now.
I don't remember.
But they put people into an fMRI machine, right? They showed them like a blue square. And every time they'd show these people a blue square, they'd give them a little shock on the finger. So the amygdala responds by being like, hey, this is a threat. And so they get the little shock on the finger. The amygdala knows that, hey, this is a threat. So you physiologically respond to this threat. But what they started doing next was, instead of just having it show up, they do it subliminally. But so they would get it over. So basically, you're not conscious of the fact that you saw the blue square.
Right.
And
Because they would ask them, did you see the blue square? They said no.
Right. But they would still have the same physiological response to the blue square because your amygdala has like dialed that as something as a threat.
Right.
But they showed no fear.
Right.
Which shows that there's a disconnect between like the neocortex and the prefrontal cortex, which makes us human, versus our kind of primal, amygdala that, makes us an animal or whatever. Is like,
Helps us survive.
you
That
get it.
survival-
You almost get a choice, and I need to read into it more. But it's super exciting because it almost makes you think, well, okay, so there's a physiological response to threat. Awesome, that's great. We need that. That doesn't mean you have to react to it in fear.
Right.
You can start choosing, and I think in the tank you can create a dissociation between the two, and you can balance them, because in the tank you are literally in this place where your sympathetic nervous system has left the fight or flight state. You're in the parasympathetic nervous state. You could be more rested and more relaxed, but you can also hear your heartbeat. Right. You also have these palpitations. You can hear your breath. Like, these things that are associated with anxiety and panic attacks are in an environment that has no sympathetic nervous system activation. So I think it's this place where maybe those two go hand in hand.
Yeah, you're reassociating these things. With
yeah,
what was associated with anxiety is now reassociated with relaxing.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So I think there's super opportunity to be able to go into a float tank and consciously work on what you want to work on, from what do I want to be afraid of, to not trying to control this non-conscious response to just a threat, which is physiologically activated, which is good. And you're okay. So if you feel your sweaty palms or anything like that because your amygdala has processed something as a threat, it doesn't mean that you have to respond consciously to it.
Right,
You can
right.
choose not to. And in the float tank, you have two obvious ones staring you in the face. You can hear your heartbeat and you got your breath, and it's right there in front of your face, man. And right then and there, you can decide how you want to choose to it. Am I scared of it? Am I not scared of it? Don't get me wrong. I'm simplifying this. I don't suffer from like high anxiety or something like that, so I apologize if I'm actually upsetting anybody. But I just would assume if I was, I'd be really excited to get in there and be like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to consciously have these antagonists, right? Or I guess, would it be protagonists towards anxiety? Whatever. They'd be antagonists towards anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And then, but now I can look at them because I have this awesome neocortex and everything else. I'm this conscious being. My body's not in a fight or flight right now. I know it's in a very, rest and digestive state. And now I can disassociate the two, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds exciting to me.
Yeah, and if anybody's interested in looking into the study that was done on floating and
Feinstein.
anxiety, Dr. Justin Feinstein at the Oklahoma Brain Institute.
LIBR, it's the Laureate Institute of Brain Research in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Thank you. Yeah, he has a website called clinicalflotation.com. Check
Yeah,
it out.
That's a fantastic website, actually.
Yeah, they break down the studies that they have done, and so I believe it was 2017. They did a study with 50 participants that had anxiety and depression, and it was 100% success rate. That
Right.
is unheard of in the world of
Clinical studies, yeah.
therapy, man. Like you never, and then the drugs that they do those
Yep.
tests with are less than 100%, and they get passed. So it's like there's a lot of potential for floating and anxiety. And he even said, I believe it was in 2018 at the Float conference, that he was hoping within like 3 to 5 years to have it covered by insurance. They're doing a long-term study right now. And
Yeah, the long term's exciting,
yeah.
right? Because after one float, they notice this 20 to 24 hours of
Up to 28 hours.
up to 28 hours.
Yeah.
So up to 28 hours of you just didn't have these same conscious responses to this non-conscious reaction.
Yeah, they got
I don't
anxiety.
want to say.
relief.
I know.
But-
I hate using anxiety now that I'm learning about like that's the amygdala. It's I don't know. I'm kind of trying to understand this a little bit different through the fact that like Xanax isn't really getting rid of anxiety. It's just
It's getting rid of everything.
it's doling everything down.
Yeah.
So that's what it's anyway. I'm not ready to start talking about how much I don't understand about that, but I'm really interested in that.
Yeah.
Because there are no real anti-anxiety drugs.
Right.
But what they're showing is with Xanax, people seem to have 4 to 6 hours relief, usually, or 4 hours.
Yeah, it's like
of-
4 to 6.
it's like going and having a beer or something like that. Like you have a benzo or a beer alcohol and it messes with those inhibitions and everything else. And
for
so
a few hours. And
yeah,
then,
so you don't have what it is though. You're not having the physiological response, right? The amygdala response, but you can still have anxiety. That's what I find interesting. So you can take a Xanax. You can go out to a crowded area, a concert, whatever. You might not have the palpitations, the sweaty palms, everything else, but that didn't shut off your conscious like I'm still scared.
anxious. Yeah.
Or you're just it's weird, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see what they start finding out more about that with the float tank, because the cool thing about the float tank is you also don't get the hangover from taking the Xanax or the hangover from the alcohol that, numbed these or basically take these receptors through something against them, numbed everything out. You have to kind of pay that back. There ain't no biological free lunch, ladies and gentlemen, like Tim
Right.
Ferriss always says.
But with the float tank, you can
There-
basically
yeah.
reprogram your biocomputer.
Possibly, right? That's what I'm thinking, man. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you got to stick with that analogy because John C. Lilly, without him, we wouldn't even be
Oh,
here.
yeah.
But-
The inventor of the float tank wrote a
Yeah.
book called Programming and Reprogramming the Human Biocomputer.
Right.
And it's all about
and there's
that.
definitely something there. It's just now taking neuroscience and everything else. There's just a lot of work that needs to be done, man.
Yeah.
And it all takes funding and everything else. But what Libra's doing is absolutely incredible. They've been studying flotation therapy for like 6-7 years now.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and they can float people with EKGs on. Like they
Yeah.
had developed all this hardware that can handle this environment. Everything was breaking at
All the
first.
salt was just destroying everything.
Like blood pressure machines, nothing could handle. And then they take them and they put them in fMRI machines afterwards. It's incredible, absolutely incredible what they're doing. It'll be incredible to find out what they're doing. Obviously, I hope it's amazing, not just from the fact that I own a float business, but this is what's better. We put out everybody on Xanax. We get everybody, like this is the way it is, man. And you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
That segues into something else I want to talk about here in a minute, but I'll hold off 1 second on why I think more people try other things instead of floating. But my point being is, yeah, like you said, 50 participants in that study all had a positive experience from mitigating, however you want to say this, their physiological or psychological response towards well-being. All of them express more serenity and things like that. All of them, every single participant. That's wild. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
And these were people with severe anxiety, some of it comorbid, like you talked about, with depression. And you're asking an anxious person to get into an environment that is kind of like we were just talking about too, anxiety ridden a little bit. So it's super cool that dissociation took effect and they all did great. So yeah, I can't wait to see where they go with the long term, because what they want to see is if we can take those results into the real world. It's great to see post float, pre and post, but that doesn't tell you anything. And it's a small sample size. They need to do this with people for 2 years or something, and all of a sudden be like, how long's your anxiety been lowered or gone out, or the physiological response to said, now that we're trying to figure out what anxiety is. I just don't have it anymore, or I'm good.
Oh, it'd be
Like,
so
holy
cool.
shit, dude.
It'd be so cool.
Yeah, it'd be so cool, man.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, that is cool. So that kind of leads me into a thing that kind of bums me out sometimes, and it's my fault because I definitely need to be a better salesman of our product too. It's just I'm not trying to sell a product, but I even have friends that suffer from anxiety, things like that, and I see them do all these things, and you know what I don't see them do? Float.
Right?
All the time, man, and I own a flipping float center, dude. Like any of my friends could come basically float anytime, and they don't, like, especially the ones I think could utilize it the most. I think everybody could float, but I'm talking about from an anxiety standpoint, because I think that's where I always see the biggest juxtaposition, right? Mm-hmm. The biggest.
Yeah.
But for example, they go to therapy, they do a lot of same things where I'm not talking against any of these other modalities at all. But the crazy thing is the only difference I find between them is one involves somebody else doing the work for you, and the other one involves you doing the work yourself. And it seems like you just don't trust yourself. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't do this myself. I'm the reason I'm this way.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you go to a therapist who helps get your brains in a lower brain frequency or something like that, utilizing some of those video game imagery, stuff like that. Well, guess what? The float tank does that by itself.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Every time.
My experience from going to therapy was great. Like,
Yeah.
I highly
Oh, yeah.
recommend
Therapy's
going
fantastic.
to therapy. But it's like once I kind of realized that the therapist is only there to lead you on the path
Yeah.
for you to solve your
Yeah.
own problems.
Right.
I was like, well
It's your mentor in that moment,
it's
right?
like, I'm gonna
On
solve
that
my.
path.
It's like you're just solving your own problems. They're just there to guide you on the right
Yes.
path, to ask the right questions,
Yes.
to
They're
to
professionals for that reason.
right, and they are damn good.
Yeah. Well, they're the Gandalf in your story, in your hero story. They're the
Right.
person, whatever that is, whoever you run into, that's mentor that pushes you, and you're shoving your heels in the ground. Hopefully, they're the person that gets you back. All right, now you're on your own, bitch.
Yeah, but the
Go.
goal is to be
Yeah,
to get
that is
you-
the goal.
yeah.
And so the cool thing is, what I'm saying, I'm not saying don't go to therapy, but you know what you can also do? Hop in a float tank, man. You don't have to schedule an appointment with a therapist. You don't have to pay a standing amounts of money. You don't have to go and be group classes. You don't have to. You just come and you do it all by yourself. You're completely. You've never been less judged in your entire life. Even though you're not usually worried about the therapist judging you or the yoga teacher or anything like that. And I love all this stuff, but this environment is just you. And the cool thing is once you learn that there's the potentiality, I'm saying that it's potential that you're going to figure out you can do it all your own. You have all the resources. It is available to you.
Yeah. And
You don't need anything else.
it's trained and for me, like from my own experience, it's like been training me to be more reliable on myself, like to
It's cool.
to be better, starting with me, like I don't like go out and I don't have to ask for a ride anymore, like that's
Right,
we were
yeah.
talking
Yeah, we
because I have a
talked about
driver's license now, just and,
Your transformation's been
shit like that
Crazy.
is just it's awesome, man. Like I'm not throwing my back out, tying my shoes and washing the dishes anymore.
Yeah.
It's like I can live comfortably, but it's,
And yeah,
it's
you get the
me.
best of both
I'm
worlds.
the one doing it, like
you
and
get
it's
that
a
physiological and the psychological.
yeah, because it's not just floating. It's also yoga and running
Right.
and exercising. Like taking care of both is just crucial because like you can't have one without the other.
Your mental health is so important, just as much important as your physical health. Mental health is almost key to everything. All the rest of this is our meat vehicle that carries it around, man.
Yeah.
That transports us, that lets it be biologically processed and have the chemicals respond to each other. You have to take care of your mental health.
Yeah.
Especially now, because we're so connected. It's the biggest double-edged sword. We're not built for this. We're not ready for this. It's too much.
Yeah, this crazy.
It's
like,
great. Don't get me wrong. It's great. We're part cyborg, man.
Right. Yeah. Like this. Like I mean.
But it's so much information.
Oh, I listened to that Snowden episode,
Yeah.
Edward Snowden on
Yeah.
Rogan, and it was interesting because he like breaks down just like how cell phones work and how like the government tracks you and all that stuff. But I mean, like even
Yeah.
he says like it's like I use a cell phone, like I'm not worried about it. He's hiding in Russia, but he talked about how like when we were kids, like we can get super upset. Go to the park and just like have a cry,
Right.
and then come back home, and that little section of time would just disappear, and
Thought that's
nobody
what
would
you
ever. But if you have nowadays, if you have a phone in your pocket, that data is stored forever, and never has there been a time in history when people have to live like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're your entire existence is stored if you have a cell phone in your pocket, like where you went, what you know, like, well, you know, your cell phone pinged from these cell phone towers at this time on this day, and it's like, what were you doing there? It's like, man, nobody knew I was there. Like, I was there crying by myself. Like, you don't need to know about that. Like,
Let me have a cry,
leave me alone, man. Like,
Man, when you said that though, that I took that to a whole different level. So just from that perspective, yeah, it's kind of weird, right?
yeah, it's a social experiment, 100%.
Man, you can go so much further than that. So watch this. So yeah, you give up a little bit of freedom and everything else for safety, I guess, in that genre. But check this out, dude. We're talking on a podcast. We have volunteered like dummies to record ourselves. I'm serious. You want to talk about going to the park? Talk about going to the park and you made a bad decision. Ooh. Let's say, talk about going to the park and you got out a piece of chalk and you wrote 140 characters on the ground that you like didn't really think that one through.
Right.
Guess what? It's forgiven. It's gone. That stuff in the park, it's gone. The metadata can't tell you, but man, you decide to voluntarily put your voice on the air like we are doing right now, or you voluntarily express something across like Twitter or anything like that. You want to talk about repercussions for never, ever, ever, ever disappearing?
Yeah.
There is no forgiveness anymore, man. That's why like even doing this is super weird.
Yeah.
It is. It's super weird because anybody could take any clip of anything we just said right now, take it out of context, you know,
make us the bad guy.
Yeah, in instance, like 30 fucking years from now, they could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Things change in 30
Yeah.
years. Culture is different. Society is adjusted in one way or another. You have different levels of experience. You've had more data coming to you. It might have changed some way you think or thought. Or this is my favorite thing to do, is to talk out loud, because this is how I try to, in my mind, like I've always said, like those abysses are easy to hop. Those, you know, I can get by these little, you know, things, but when I start speaking out loud about something and realize how unclear and unconcise I am, that's where I know, okay, I have a big void right here. Let's go back and work on it, or
Yeah,
let's
you're
think about it more.
You're experimenting with ideas.
It's the way
verbally.
you learn. Yeah, dude, and it allows me to become and define my own authentic voice, which none of us really have per se. It's not common to have your own authenticity now because we've spent so much time knowing that we're going to be viewed and knowing that we're at the park crying and everybody's going to know we were at the park crying.
Right. Or going to the park writing your
Yeah.
angry, what would
Right,
be an
your
angry,
angry tweet or something like that.
on the chalk. Tomorrow
gotta
the
make-
rain's going to wash that away. Like, but if you go on Twitter and write
Yeah.
that angry tweet, that's there 30 years later.
That's the thing is, man,
That's creepy.
you always
and
have to be
crazy.
concerned about how you're being viewed, how you're being observed as that being who you are, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, dude, it's super weird. Like kids
That,
today
like, the
are
forgiveness,
raised that way.
Yeah, I was
Like,
born in like 81. You know how
Right.
much dumb shit I did
Oh,
that
man.
nobody knows about anymore? Or the people that I did it to or who did it to me, I have
Right.
forgiven, or we've
Right.
just gotten over and forgot about it.
Right.
Because that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's done, man. I'm not even the same person, and neither are they probably, you know, just hypothetically speaking, but you literally are not the same. You're such a product of your environment and experiences and everything else and new data and information. How can you possibly hold somebody accountable for something they did 30 years ago, even if it did seem outrageous? You have no context. Because you can't go back in time for 30 years, take that whole week, see everything that happened, piece it all together, and then I bet you that tweet or that cry or whatever is going to look a lot different.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying it's always going to be better.
So that's what I was
But
saying. Like, it's a huge social
it's a huge-
experiment
it
right
is.
now.
It's
like,
enormous. Sorry, I'm going off on that.
No, that was a good one because it's like I feel it's like I don't know if I feel bad for kids because I don't know if this is a good or a bad
kinda
thing.
do.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean. Like,
you
it's
can't
like
just
we
go
don't have enough data.
be a kid
Right.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Everything's always there permanently. Permanently.
Permanent Record, the book
And
by Edward
now
Snowden.
we can change history. We can literally change history by making things a permanent record now that weren't then. We show it the way we'd like it to have been viewed 60 years ago. Unfortunately, it wasn't that way. It's rewriting history. It's weird.
It is.
It's so weird. That's what I mean. Like, there's all this data, and my best advice, me personally, is to be aesthetic, remove yourself, and just live in some form of, you know, digital abstinence every once in a while. More than often, or more than not, do that. Honestly, do that more often than not. Be with your own thoughts. Go through that email inbox. You don't have time otherwise.
Yeah.
Spend more time doing that. Spend more time being at peace with all that shit. And you're not going to even go write that angry tweet probably.
Right.
But because you're not so muddled and noisy and dirty and unfiltered and like, you don't have all this crap going on.
Yeah, man. Like one of the more popular social media things we put out last week was just about everything works better when you unplug it for a while and
So
then
true.
plug it back in. Just because we're
tell
the
me your parents
same
didn't think
way.
you were magic when you were a kid. You're like, fixed it, and they're like, that kid is a genius. And you're in the back going, fuck,
I don't know, I just unplugged the router and plugged it back in.
Or even
Turned
before
on.
that, like VHS, the freaking TV just kind of go hit it a little bit. Like, oh, hey, it works, man.
Yeah.
The kid's a genius.
Kid's gonna be
He knows what
somebody.
those wires do. It's nuts.
I don't know how it all works.
Yeah, it's great, man. But you had this willingness to just go do something. Not to digress on that. I do want to talk about floating again as just like it is going to sound a little salesy, I guess, but I'm going to start harping on people, man.
Yeah.
If you want to get the benefits of floating,
Float and then float again.
float and then float again.
And then float again.
Literally, and when you look at it economically, what is your mental health worth? And physiological, like I was talking about physical. All last week, I've got all this stuff I have to do in the office, man. I've got so many things that I put off from a marketing standpoint, all this stuff I hate, where I've literally been sitting at my desk more often than I ever, you know me, I don't sit.
Yeah.
I've sat all week and my back was bugging the hell out of me. It's crazy. All the working out, everything else, I don't have that much pain. You sit me in a desk for a week and I hurt.
Yeah.
I'm in pain. I'm not doing my mobility. I'm not doing these things because I'm like, I have to get this done. I need literally 8 hours of staring at this screen, man. Like, yeah. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I hurt so bad. And it's like, well, what did I do yesterday in my workout? I'm like, I didn't. I stared at the screen. I'm like, guess what? I don't hurt right now. My back feels so good.
Oh man, I'm the same way, dude. Saturday night, man, I was at, I got to the bar at 8:00 to play our show, our Halloween show. It was awesome. Shout out Bodegas.
Oh, yeah.
You guys did a
I'm so
killer
glad I
job.
could've made that.
Oh man, yeah. For you being sober October probably would have sucked because people were going bananas, dude. I saw 2 people unsuccessfully try to stage dive. I've never seen anybody stage dive at
Dude,
Bodegas.
that's what I was gonna ask
they
you.
just bam, and so it's like the second guy that did it had to have seen that dude
shit.
and was just like, I can do that better.
I believe I can
Just but yeah, so I played. I got up and played with Hammersaw, the bluegrass band, for a
Right,
couple
yeah, you said
songs.
you were
That
going
was
to.
cool. And then Pure Brown played, and dude. It's funny, like when I'm on stage and I'm playing, I'm just having fun. I'm just
Adrenaline's
like,
going.
yeah, and I'm just thinking like, man, like I hope I'm like being entertaining at least. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if I'm like entertaining.
So then you start getting into
and
it?
then like I go back and I look at the video and I'm just going, just head banging, and I'm just like, man,
Yeah,
I'm
you do a
getting
good job,
old,
man.
dude. Because
Yeah.
when I was a kid,
Starts to hurt.
headbanging never bothered me. I don't know what this neck pain was, but today I feel so much better, dude. I
Right.
floated and my back doesn't hurt.
It's nuts.
My neck doesn't hurt
Yeah.
anymore. It's like it's nice, man.
Dude, just wait.
Physiologically,
You're gonna get
it's
older to where you do a forward roll and you think you're gonna puke.
What's a
I used
forward
to- I
roll?
did gymnastics. I was a gymnast for 15 years. I can't even do a forward roll anymore without me going like, oh, don't do that. You're gonna throw up.
I'm gonna puke.
But yeah. But you do. You're weightless. It feels great. Your back is fully decompressed. What we realized those 9 episodes and we have not even talked like what is floating. What is this stuff? Floating is incredible because yes, when you're floating, you are virtually weightless. I mean, the water is so dense that you're buoyant. You float like a cork. You couldn't sink if you wanted to. Your body is fully decompressed. You're as tall as you ever could be.
Yeah.
Right. And
I'm
for a
6'3"
short
and I
guy-
float with my arms up. The tanks are big.
But yeah, you come out of there and that lower back was decompressed the whole time and all those blood vessels were fully dilated the whole time. So all that blood is just circulating for however long you're in there. That's an hour every week, soon to be 90 minutes. It's circulating free. No pressure points, no bed, just a blanket of water. So if you think your body's going to not fucking love you after that, it's nuts. And check this out. Once your brain goes into that parasympathetic nervous system, all muscle tension will go away, especially when you make floating a practice.
Yeah.
Like for us, it happens every time. All muscle tension. It lets go. And that includes your soft muscles, and hence why your blood vessels are fully dilated and everything. Those are muscles. All that muscle tension, it goes away. So all that tension you hold in your neck, all that stress, everything else that you're always feeling is literally gone.
Man.
And so on top of that, when you're doing all the cool stuff we talked about psychologically and physiologically, you're getting all these great benefits, and you step out and everything's just a little more trivial, and you just got to look and go like, why the fuck doesn't everybody do this like every day?
Yeah.
I mean, we literally have people that suffer so much from so many elements of life. We do have people that come and float every day.
Yeah.
I've had a few of them, and that even just went and bought float tanks and stuff like every day. We have a lady that suffers from migraines pretty bad, floats every day. And I don't know why it has a relief on migraines. I'm assuming tension, things like, I don't know anything about a migraine.
They suck, I can tell you that
But
much.
the transformation I'm seeing, and not to get weird or deep or anything like this, and this is kind of a, I don't know, just coincidental, but I know we kind of talked about suicide, my bad, on the last podcast a little bit. And then I was reading the float journal the other day, and somebody came in and floated like a couple weeks ago, and they'd written in there, today I was going to kill myself. Instead, I came here.
Yeah.
And now I'm better.
Oh,
and
man.
I was like, I didn't know what to do, like ethically in that moment, but I ended up looking up the person, and they'd actually come in and floated again the next week.
Oh, man.
And I was like, fuck yeah. I'm not going to
Dude.
say a word or reach out because you like, but are you kidding me?
Oh,
You're going to
man.
kill yourself.
Yeah. I was here that day, and I had
You knew?
no idea.
You know what journal entry I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
I saw that in
dude,
there.
I just saw it the other day.
I saw that in there like that day because I
Really?
like going in. 'Cause
Yeah.
We have a community journal, and it's awesome. You guys write all your experiences, your floaty experiences in there, and
It is fun.
and a lot of it's hilarious, but some of it's pretty serious.
Some of it gets pretty deep.
And yeah, I went there, and I was just like, oh my god, like I talked to this person today, like.
Did you
I
talk
had-
to them post and pre-float?
Yeah, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like when they came in and when they came out, they were just like doing their thing, and
That's
I was
awesome.
just like, thank you
Yeah.
for not killing yourself
Yeah.
and for coming here instead. But that was cool. That made, like that. I mean,
that just shows you-
pulled the heartstrings, dude. That teared me up a little bit. I
That's
was
not
like,
going to be some terrible fucking billboard. Hey, instead of killing yourself, come float.
Yeah, that-
$65. No, we're saying is it's pretty fucking profound. Number two,
the profound counter continues.
what you can do when you allow yourself to be with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, I thought a cool slogan would be "Nice to meet yourself."
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's what it's like. It's like nice to meet yourself. I've been there so many times now, but when I very first started floating, like 5-6 years ago now, because I was floating way before we opened here, that's what it was like for me. Like, hi, Levi. Like, whoa. who are you? I'm you, man. Like, wait, you're me? Yeah, and you're me, and here we are.
You're just who you think you are. I'm the real you.
Let's have a conversation, man. So about that weird shit you've been doing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Knock that off.
Yeah. You can't hide from me, sir.
I'm the real you.
Yeah. I know what you've been up to and what you did last summer.
Oh man.
But so it segues into me. We're going to talk about tanks, Thanksgiving.
Yeah, dude.
Thanksgiving's coming up at Lost and Float, ladies and gentlemen. If you have been around Lost and Float the last couple years, we don't have just one awesome night of thanks. We have one full month of Thanksgiving. And what we do is anybody who is a member at Lost and Float, float member, I guess that would be, can bring in any newbie who's never floated before. And that newbie, as long as you come in at the same time and bring that newbie to float, that newbie gets a free float on the house.
Yep.
And it's our way of saying thank you
Thank you.
thank you by allowing you to be able to give tanks. Because we also know that a lot of people who do float and know what Jesse and I are talking about also have a lot of friends that are like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, what are you talking about with this weird floating woo-woo-ness, this snake oil? It's like, no, man.
It's not snake oil.
It's not, dude, it's so imperative that people experience this, especially as a community, especially as a whole, especially as these conscious beings that we all have to deal with each other. We all have the people that look at us and be like, man, what are you talking about? And you're like, I just wish you could experience. Well, here's the deal. If you want that person to experience it, you can bring them in for free the whole month of November and float them. And the cool thing is I've been in situations where my friend's like, oh, I really want you to experience it. It's going to be so rad, dude. And I'm like, right on, I'm in. And then we show them. They're like, oh, yeah, and you got to buy your own ticket. And I'm like, damn it, dude. We're not going to put you in that position.
Yeah.
Also, we might have time now. It's like the 28th. Maybe we'll get some swag too. So if you do bring in a newbie, we'll hook you up with something.
Yeah, we'll try to get something figured out.
Yeah, we can figure that out.
But yeah. So we have 4 float tanks here
Yeah.
on a staggered schedule. So 2 float tanks are on one schedule, 2 float tanks are on another schedule. So you and your bud can float at the same time. And then with our referral program, if you do that 3 times in the month, every 3 new people you bring to Lost and Float, you get a free service.
Yeah.
So you can bring in 3 people and you'll get a free float out of it. I mean,
And or cryotherapy.
or cryotherapy.
Yeah, we'll let you do one or the other. That's great, man. I always forget we even have a freaking referral program. That is so huge.
I pity the fool that forgets we have a referral program, man.
Mr. T's been talking directly to me. Yeah, we have a referral program. That's ridiculous. Here's the other thing. If you're not a member right now, guess what? You can become a member and do the same thing. Our memberships are so ridiculously value-oriented and cheap, it doesn't even make sense. If you enjoy floating and you've floated other
Underwear?
I see you under there. Underwear. Then you'll know that we do our best, our absolute best to get people to be able to come in here and float and afford it because, dude, like I said, your mental health is it's priceless.
Yeah,
So,
and
stop.
if you haven't ever floated before, so check us out. We're in Lincoln, Nebraska, Lost and Float, and it's basically risk-free your first time because
if you hate it,
if you come
all
in
in the
here
house.
and you float and you're like, this isn't for me, and you
Right.
get out, we ain't gonna charge you.
Yeah.
Like, just come try it out. I mean, now granted, you stay in there for 45 minutes, we're gonna charge you.
yeah, you got to decide in 15 minutes we're full of shit.
yeah. I mean, just give yourself, 15 minutes.
Give yourself
Half hour,
it takes
I mean.
it takes half of the first float to finally get comfortable in the environment. But yeah, if you're in there for 20 minutes, it ain't for you. Come on out. We're just gonna give you a high five and we'll shoot the show. We're
No
not
hard feelings,
No
man.
hard feelings.
We
at
know
all.
this thing's weird.
We don't care. We just want to help people. We truly love helping people. I know everybody says that, but the thing about that is too, we also can only help people if we exist. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, sometimes we'll sound a little sales pitchy, I guess, but it's not, man. This is the coolest win-win situation ever.
Oh, man.
This is our cake, and we get to eat it, and it's so rad. And that being said, yeah, there's so many people that are like, and with our memberships, it's so crazy too. Like some people come in, they'll do a single float, and they're like, I just want the single float today. I'm like, do you know the membership's cheaper? Mm-hmm. It's cheaper. There's no commitment. You can cancel it anytime.
There's no sign-up fee.
There's no nothing,
contract.
man. Like if you call us a week from now and you're like, you know what, I don't want to have that membership auto renew, let us know. Cool. Here's the other thing. If you're gonna go on vacation for 3 months and you stay a member, you don't lose those service credits. They just roll right on over.
Yep.
We've been being cooler than the cell phone companies when they got cool before they were cool. You don't lose them. They don't expire for a year. The other thing that I notice never gets taken advantage of is the fact that when you are a member, you can basically make anybody else and that you want to kind of be a quasi member. You get discounted floats. If you're a 4 float member, you can float again plus the 4 floats you get with the membership for $39.
Yeah.
That means if you want to buy somebody a float, it only costs you $39 because you can share any service credit that you have. Mm-hmm. And you also can cryo for $29. So if you have a buddy that's like, God, I've been wanting to cryo for years. You're like, well, get in there and go do it. Here's the cool thing. You yourself can buy him a $29 cryotherapy session.
And that's a referral.
That's ridiculous. And that's a referral. It doesn't make sense. And $29 cryotherapy session, this is all after tax on those discounts. It doesn't even make sense. It's so fucking cheap.
Slaps roof of float tank. You can fit so much nothing in this sweet baby.
So much nothing. Yeah, so become a member. Start floating. And the cool thing is before you leave the float shop next time, schedule your next float.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
That's it.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Set yourself up for the next bit of nothingness. Set yourself up for that next cloning of yourself where your other version just disappears and you're the new badass piece of DNA.
Before we started the podcast, I would try to float every week,
right?
But it was just kind of hit and miss.
Shit happens, man.
And over when we first started, it was just I'd float and then I got some time to float. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I noticed it was not consistent.
Right.
And I wasn't like I am now,
Yeah.
and I wasn't as responsible and taking care of my shit like I do now. But it's when I started scheduling it out in advance. I would just put myself on the schedule. Gonna float that day. Gonna float. And then the next week I'd float and then just book it out in advance. That's when I noticed this is oh, okay, I'm starting to get my shit together.
Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll go get a driver's license.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, I'll start. I'll start working out. I'll start doing all these things that I should be doing.
Routine is key.
Man, yeah, dude. I actually had a thought in the float tank today.
Uh-oh.
I called the fire department. I was thinking like, shit, I lost it. Damn it, it's like right there, dude.
I licked it. It was salty.
It was like, oh man, what was it, dude?
Salty thoughts,
Damn it.
man.
It was right there.
I had some weird thoughts of the float tank that I don't think I could bring up because they're weird, man.
Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts.
But
dude.
anyway, I really like the fire that you just lit though, because that's so important. It does. It freaks me out, man. We have this referral program. Bring 3 people in. You get a float. We have a volunteer program. Volunteer 4 hours. You get to do something awesome, and you get a float. That's sweet. We're really trying to say something up for maybe December. I don't want to bring it up yet because we don't have the logistics set up. We got a cool idea. We hope it works. If we do go forth with it, we'll really harp it next week, and really love to get some people involved with that if we can do it, because it's gonna be super cool.
We also have an artist program.
Yeah,
which
the artist program's
is booked up till
online.
January, so we're booking for next year. If you're an artist and you want to,
Any artist.
Yeah,
We've talked about that before.
Your 5-year-old daughter was.
She was one of them of the month. It was
that was
super
awesome.
Rad, man. That was so cool.
Oh, I remember it.
Okay.
Remember the
And no.
shit, I lost it. No, it was I definitely have friends that are like struggling, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like they just don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And
right.
and so like for me, like it's like you may not know like what you want to do with your life, but you sure as shit know what you need to do.
Yeah.
And so if you start breaking down things, like for me, like it really helped me to just like write out all the shit that I needed to do. Like my student loans was one of them. I had them paid off a couple years ago, but this was before that. Like I just started like writing things down. Like this is what I need to do. 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 And then I organized them from easiest to hardest. And then I just started crossing off. And I started, okay, get this easiest one done. Get this easiest one done. And then I just getting that list going snowballs and compounds it. Like it, well, there we go. Sorry. It snowballs and it compounds it. So it's like, it's a snowball effect of just like, oh, I got this easy thing done. I got this easy thing. And checking those things off the to-do list inspires you and motivates you to do more. And before you know it, you're getting ideas of what you like to do. And then you can start going down those avenues of things you like to do and, do the whole, fail thing and start again and just keep going, man. Like it's a never ending process, this life. So just do, know, like just start.
I couldn't agree with you more.
That was a crazy thought I had in the float tank today.
Nike could have summed it up. Just get rid of the it.
Yeah,
just do. Damn it. Don't need a swoosh.
Just do, damn it.
It's just do, damn it. Just do, comma, damn it. Swish. I couldn't agree with you more, and not to harp on that. I have that thought all the time, and I almost always think about it in the podcast. But my family was out of town this weekend, and I'm a terrible Husker fan. Please don't hate me. I haven't watched a game. I just never been really big into football, and I totally support the Huskers. Totally support our local community. I want everybody to do great. But I was like, I'm gonna watch a game this year, and I haven't.
Oh
but
man,
the girls were out of town. Gina was out of town at a conference, so I was gonna get a hold of some buddies and maybe watch a game. But I got to admit, before I was sending out the text message, say, hey, what's everybody up to? I didn't do it. I didn't want to do it because, as much as I want to go hang out with my friends, first of all, it's sober October, but let's just assume it wasn't. Go have a beer, watch the game, everything else. It's not progress for me. Mm-hmm. It sounds kind of gross. And, like, I still love that shit. I love to party just as much as the next person.
Oh, dude.
But there's something about progress that...
The self-accomplishment is addicting.
Mm-hmm. And where I know if I go watch a game for 4 hours and have 4 beers, I progress nothing. I had my moments of like, oh, it's awesome. I love seeing my friends. I love that camaraderie. I love that shit. I love my family and my friends, man. I do. Please call me. Sometime. I'm lonely. but it does. It's fleeting. It is kind of that instant gratification for me. Of course, I love it. Just like I love a lot of things, but it's not that I'm not checking anything on my list. Mm-hmm, I'm not moving forward, and it's not that I'm moving forward towards the finish line. And I know we're sounding redundant. We talk about this a lot, but I'm fucking addicted to it. Yeah. And that in the float tank, man, I get really clear and concise. And like my stupid thought, I'm sitting there hovering between it. My sleep, I was pretty wide awake today, but there's two like rooms, and they're like these glass rooms, and I can stare at them, and there's a girl in one room and a girl in another room, and one's black and white for some reason, the other one's color, and there's two girls inside of each of them, but one has access to the internet, and she has like this iPad that's like floating in her room, and she's like floating in front of it. It's kind of like Tim Burton's kind of animated style, like that artistic style. Burton, you know Tim Burton.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So they're kind of like that. And one's over here and she's kind of colorful and has this iPad. She has access to all this shit. And she's got these movies and all this stuff. And she's like, this is fucking awesome. This is awesome. This is awesome. This is awesome. This is awesome. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And I look at the other room and it's kind of black and white. And this lady's sitting there and she has a bed. And it's not like cold or dark or anything. It's just more not access to everything, but all she has this desk and she has a typewriter and she has this ream of paper sitting next to the typewriter. And of course she has the same brain too. So she might have these awesome thoughts. I'm in a float tank. I don't have an iPad. I don't have access to the outside world, but I'm whoa. She starts typing about it. And all of a sudden she can't do anything. She can't just plug into the heroin machine of the iPad and throw Netflix on and just like the other girl's doing. She can't do that. So she needs to express these thoughts and everything else because they might be something. They turn into progress because she starts typing and she starts writing these poems and they become literature and she starts expounding upon it. And then she gets done typing these poems and she's like, she feels good about it. Like she changed, she transformed, she took it with her. The other girl who's in this colorful box, which I've been in both of these boxes, one maybe more often than not, unfortunately, is she watched a super awesome movie. It was so badass. It was cool. And she walked out of it and she typed and then it was gone. And you know where she ended up? The exact same fucking place she was beforehand. There was no new progress.
Wow.
It was a great movie. It was great information. There was a cool dog gif. It was hilarious. She laughed. She saw awesome shit on Facebook or whatever it might have been. But she was nowhere new when it was done. Like when I finished, like, whoa, what the hell did I just get done watching? She was in the exact same mental spot of just like, what's next?
That's crazy.
This other girl was like, holy shit. I just became something different. I need to talk to somebody about it. It was like she had this whole like, I'm jazzed, ready to go.
Wow.
And the other girl felt the same and needed her next fix.
That's so cool.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
That was one of the crazy ones I said I wasn't going to talk about, but luckily it made a little sense.
Dude, talk about that shit.
It was
man,
wild.
that was cool as hell.
But it was so wild because it started out so mundane and like, ooh, cold and dark. It's black and white. And she just has this typewriter. And this other girl looked all colorful and flowers and all this information's available. But when it was over, there was no progression. She felt the exact same she did after she watched all this amazing content, just readily available at any time.
Man.
But this girl who had to go in and put in some work and everything else to take these thoughts and put them to paper and start thinking about and transform, be with her own thoughts.
Without distractions.
Without distraction, came out all of a sudden she was flowery. You know, she was the flowery one. She was the one ready for more.
Man.
Where the other girl was just like, I'm at the exact same thought I started with, and I needed to keep here. This is just my heroine. Where the other girl just moved somewhere else.
That sounds like a good float,
freaking
man.
badass. Sorry. So yeah, I've been harping on that. So that's why I don't know. I almost get upset when I hear so many of my friends too that don't just come in and float and they go try these other things. And I just come float, man. Do 6 weeks. Yeah. Float for 6 weeks every day. Wednesday. It's 7:30.
Right.
7:30 Wednesday. Even if you can't do that, just 6 weeks, man.
Yeah.
I need to create like a 6-week challenge. That's what we need to do. We'll go work on
I like that.
We're going to do something like that. I really think that it's just, I've seen so many transformations and so many different people. And we never talk about this podcast. And I apologize if we're annoying people with like sounding salesy. I don't know. It scares me. It's one of the weird things that I worry about. Because it's not me.
Oh, dude, I grew up on punk rock, man. I'm like the most anti-sales dude ever. But this is something I firmly believe in.
Right, it's different when you care about something.
Like being like, come float.
Especially when I hear some of just the sad stories that are taking place in some of my friends' lives and stuff. And I'm not also gonna. I don't know. I'm not that person to say, come do this thing, man. But
I'm not going to tell anybody how to live.
Right. It's weird. But there's got to be a point in time when we do put our foot out there and be like, hey, dude. What are you doing?
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
I mean, I think that's a sign of a good friend, man. Like, a good friend's going to tell you the hard truths.
Well, this is the Good Flow Center yelling at this whole community or anybody that's listening to this. If you are all into floating and you're just partaking a little bit, you're doing it all wrong. I think you're just doing it wrong, man. Just float. Make that a part of your life. Just like exercise, just like eating, just like spending time with your family. Mental health is so vitally important. Yeah. It's so vitally important that it's going to affect every other thing that you do routinely and that you're trying to be better at. It's going to make it exponentially better and easier and more clear. You have to do it. You have to do both. You have to do these things. I don't even care. Don't come float. Go meditate for 45 minutes every morning. Do things like that. Get the waking
10
up
minutes,
app.
man.
10
10-minute meditation.
But just start doing this stuff. Because if you just, it's almost like, sorry, I'm getting amped up, man, but when you're just going with the flow and you're just like, dun, 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 freaking hamster on this wheel, it's never going to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to stop the wheel, the hamster wheel.
Or just, look at it. just take a moment to pause and look at it. And that's what you can do when you allow yourself to be with yourself.
Man.
Be with yourself, man. Once in a while, more often than not, take the time to do that.
That's good,
Sorry.
man. No, you're on one, buddy.
Cool,
man.
Yeah, I know we have
anything else we need to talk about? Just Thanksgiving,
like you said. No, Thanksgiving for sure. We will be pushing out some content of that. We'll do like a newsletter. Yeah, please come in, bring your friends, get them to float. It's a win-win. It helps us. It keeps us alive. We can help more people. It's going to make your friend have a different perspective on life. And maybe they need it, man. Maybe that they are the friend that we're always kind of harping on that just doesn't allow themselves to be vulnerable, has shit to work on, doesn't, can. Guess what? Here you go. Here's your opportunity. Please come in. You'll get referral credit. If you're not on our referral program, call us tomorrow. Let us know. Like, hey, I didn't know there was a referral program.
Yep.
Cool. We'll take care of that. You will get an email that'll tell you, hey, congratulations. Here's your referral code. You can share it on social media. Anybody that uses that referral code, even if they buy something online, you get credit for it. It's awesome. It's set up. It's ready to go for you.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is like, it really is like the physical and mental recovery has to be a part of your practice. If you go to the gym all the time and everything else, that's great. If you're also not making a practice to physically recover from those workouts or mentally recover just from this existence, you're missing out on a very vital thing. Yeah. And on that note, I think Jesse's got something special for us.
Yeah. So Levi demanded a request. It's like an oxymoron. But so yeah, I kind of started writing this tune based on Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey, which we talked about on the podcast. And yeah, it's like a 12-step journey. Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, a lot of cool stuff was based on it.
Everything's based on it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's basically life. So every week I forget to do something. A couple weeks ago I forgot to empty the SD card. Last week I forgot to charge the battery. This week I forgot to tune the guitar. So
did you?
It's pretty good.
Not bad.
Cool. Well, yeah. One last thing. If you're listening to this podcast and you like it, please share it with your friends.
Yeah. If we're gonna be salesy, we might as well start doing that too.
Right.
Subscribe, man. Share. Spread the love. We can only get better.
Yeah.
We just want to have a community where hopefully this encourages other people to talk random nonsense.
Hook us up with a review. Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. Oh, also, if you do want to comment, we were thinking about creating like a separate page, maybe Facebook, maybe something. We don't know yet. So that when we talk about certain things on this podcast, where we have cool articles, or we talk about Library Institute in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we could start like posting those as actually reviews of the podcast. Yeah. Get conversation going where we're not muddling up everything else with just Lost and Floats.
I like that
podcast page.
Yeah.
So you might receive an invite here pretty soon. We'll create like a, Oh, sorry guys, I gotta go answer the door.
Cool.
I'll be back.
I'm gonna play a song here. Cool. So yeah, this is I don't know. Doesn't have a name. Normal reality is not what it seems to be. Refuse the adventure before you meet your mentor. 'Cause now you're back on the road again. But you meet some trials and tribulations. Swallowed in the belly of the whale, then you fell. Seize the sword of your reward, and you're back on the road. Oh, sorry. The road back home don't make you feel the best, because you have to meet your final test before you return home. It's a work in progress, but hey, it's all right. It's the 12 chord progression that's needs some work.
So wait, you did 12 chords for the 12 steps?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I would have heard it.
Yeah, I'll try it again. I'll give it one more shot.
You gonna play it again?
Yeah, I'll give it another shot.
Oh, dude, go for it. Tune the guitar, man. We can
It's,
always
it's in
edit
tune.
this.
It's
and-
yeah. So normal reality is not what it seems to be. Refuse the adventure before you meet your mentor. And now you're back on the road again, but you meet your trials and tribulations, swallowed in the belly of the whale before you fail. You seize the sword of your reward. The road back home don't make you feel the best, because you know you have to face your final test before you return home. Cha cha cha.
That's awesome, man. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you after 90 minutes, maybe.
Yeah. Let's do
it.
90 next time.
Okay, 90s it is.
Cool.
Bye-bye now.
Goodbye.